Welcome to Spinning Back Clique, where each week here at MMA Junkie, we take a spin through the biggest stories in MMA. I'm your host, Gorgeous George, and with me, as always, some of the best MMA minds in the world. This week, we got Goes from MMA Junkie Radio, originally from the mean streets of Santa Ana, California, now in Sin City. Danny Segura is back, the host of Hablemos MMA, coming to us from South Florida. Rounding out the squad, it's Matt Wells from the Big D. Always great having him on SBC. Cold coffee on the ones and twos. Let's get started. All right, Glover Teixeira and Yuri Prochazka had an epic fight, an instant classic at UFC 275 that nearly went the distance. Teixeira was 28 seconds away from probably retaining his title as he was up on two of the judges' scorecards and had mostly been winning the fifth round. Prochazka, however, somehow found a way to secure a rear naked choke that forced Teixeira to tap out for the first time in his career. Do you guys give more credit to Prochazka for winning, or did Teixeira, I guess, more lose it to Prochazka is the question. Goes, you're going to lead things off. 4 minutes on the clock. Get going.
Very tough question, but I have to give Yuri more credit for finding a way to win this fight. Whether he knew it or not, he needed a finish to win the fight. So going in there, hitting Glover with everything he had, except the kitchen sink, he couldn't get the job done with the striking. He went in there and he went for a submission against the decorated black belt. I mean, that's pretty ballsy to do that. He could have very well stayed in that position and maybe tried to get a finish through the strikes, but he took that risk, and I think you gotta reward somebody with that. I think that was very, very smart of him to do. Sometimes coaches don't tell you the truth in the corner, and I think he probably felt he needed to get some kind of finish. So I have to give him props for going for that finish. Both fighters kind of had their goofy moments where I think you go back and you go, man, I wish I would have done this. I wish I would have done that. I think Glover's going to go back and see a lot of things that he could have maybe capitalized on it. I do think that there is a little to say of Glover, maybe not handing the fight over to Yuri, but giving him some positions that I think he could have worked with. So at the end of the day, Yuri gets my vote, but Glover gets my respect. I mean, doing this at the age that he's at right now, at the level that he's performing, it's pretty admirable, but Yuri gets my vote.
So, Goes, you're saying he didn't hand him the gift, but he maybe gave him the gift card to go get it?
He left it on the porch.
All right. Danny, you're up next. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't want to say that, he was handed a victory, because you can't go through such a war. You can't submit such a fantastic grappler as Glover Teixeira and get lucky and not get credit. No, that definitely didn't happen. Yuri Prochazka did everything he could possibly do and more to position himself to get the victory. But with that being said, I do think if Glover Teixeira would have been a little smarter about some of the decisions he made in that fifth round, he would have won the fight. I mean, he was up on the scorecards going into the fifth. He was winning the grand majority of the fifth. There was only 30 seconds remaining, and he gets submitted. I think he got a little bit too excited, Glover Teixeira, towards the end. He could have easily stalled it out. I mean, he gave us 4.5 rounds of just complete hell. I think it would have been okay if he would have stalled a little bit. Not many people would have complained, but those are the decisions that he made, and that's how the fight unfolded. It's like saying, well, if Zhang Weili didn't land that spinning back fist, who knows if Joanna Jedrzejczyk would have won, but she did, right? So again, I do think that Glover Teixeira is going to look back and be like, kind of regret that move, going for that guillotine and some of the decisions he made in the fifth round. But all in all, Yuri Prochazka, as I said, he did the best that he could possibly do, everything you could possibly do to position yourself to get that victory, because and more, because what he did was just completely unhuman. What he did and the boundaries that he pushed in himself to get that win was completely ridiculous. It was amazing to watch.
Well said, Danny. All right, Matt, what are your thoughts on this classic that we had on Saturday night?
I mean, an incredible fight, right? One of the best that we've seen in this division for a title, but I think this comes down to a little bit of the age difference as well. I think a younger Glover Teixeira doesn't get shucked off from mount the many times he had it in this fight, where he was raining down hard ground and pound and he just lost position over and over again. So I think his age came into play in this fight, but you also have to give a little bit of credit to Yuri Prochazka as well, because he was able to weather that storm over and over again and find ways to escape and keep getting back up and keep putting Glover in dangerous positions. And when you have this age discrepancy sort of thing and the stakes are so high, main event, a big fight, we see crazy things, and Glover's never been submitted, and Yuri never submitted anybody either. So it was just a perfect mashup of a whole bunch of things that made for this incredible moment. So at the end of the day, though, I think Glover's age did come into play here, and that's what ultimately cost him the fight.
Yeah, good stuff, guys. I mean, it was humid there. They were slipping all over the place, and they must have just been exhausted. Like Danny said, they pushed the boundaries. Great fight. Yuri, all respect, man. We're just joking over here. That man plays with samurai swords. We don't want any of that smoke. All right, let's go to topic number 2. Sticking with UFC 275, obviously, Valentina Shevchenko eked out a split decision over Talia Santos, for her 7th straight title defense. It was the first time Shevchenko was truly tested during her title reign, as Santos put her in some dangerous situations, positions, but the turning point, of course, was the clash of heads in round 3. It caused Santos' eye to shut for the championship round, which Shevchenko took advantage of and won. Do you consider Shevchenko lucky to escape with a win? Danny, it's on you, dog. 4 minutes.
Yeah, I guess somewhat lucky, right? I mean, that clash of heads definitely had an impact on the fight. Taila Santos was winning the bout in my eyes up to that point. The 4th and 5th round, you can clearly see like her eye was really swollen, and even just moving around and kind of bouncing around, you can kind of see her face wince a little bit in pain. Obviously, we learn after the fact that she had a broken orbital bone. That's a huge deal. So props to her for fighting Valentina Shevchenko 10 more minutes with a broken orbital bone. I mean, how many people can do that? Seriously. So in a way, that obviously aided Valentina, not only because Taila Santos had to worry about that and kind of hold herself back from striking because she couldn't see out of that eye, and she said she was seeing double, but also because the pain was so big that I'm sure that it was taking away and sort of distracting her from the game plan and keep going forward. But at the same time, we have Valentina Shevchenko saying in the post-fight interview that she injured her foot and she entered the bout injured, and apparently it was pretty bad. At some point, she couldn't even walk on it. So, I mean, there's all these factors that go into a fight. Not everyone goes there 100%. Things happen during the bout as well. I mean, TJ Dillashaw blew out his knee and he still eked out a win over Corey Sandhagen. So it's hard to say that she's lucky because these things happen. It's not like some crazy thing, unexpected, these are factors of the game. And, unfortunately for Taila Santos, it played against her, but, this is the game. So Valentina Shevchenko retains her title in a fair manner.
It definitely is a cruel game, man. All right, Matt Wells, share your thoughts on this classic fight that we had.
And another incredible fight, right? We were treated to some absolute wars on Saturday. But I think this comes down to when you talk about, did Valentina escape with the victory? I can't get on board with that because you have to respect her resume. She entered this fight with an 8-fight win streak. She's dominated this division throughout her career. She's proven time and time again she can excel late in fights. Everyone loves to point back to the Amanda Nunes fights where she excelled late in those fights. And a lot of people, say that she won those. I'm not one of them, but you have to respect her resume and the body of work she's accumulated up to this point to respect the fact that regardless of the accidental headbutt, that she wouldn't have adjusted her game plan. We saw her adjusting her game plan regardless. She came out more aggressive in the 4th and 5th rounds, and she really, in my opinion, put the stamp on the fight late in the fight. And I just can't get on board with saying that she got lucky that caused, the change in the bout. I won't discount that it did alter the bout because obviously it affected Santos because we saw her completely favoring that side of her face a lot. Like she was acknowledging it, but it definitely played a factor. But to say that Valentina got lucky that happened, I can't get on board with that. Let's show some respect to the dominant champ, the dominant flyweight champ. Give some respect to the Bullet here.
Yeah, man, 7 straight title defenses. This one was the toughest. All right, goes clean up things here.
Well, I mean, that arena wasn't haunted. Last I checked, right? The booing didn't come from ghosts. I think the fans were pretty upset. I think they thought the decision was wrong. But to say that she got lucky, I don't know that I could agree with that. I think the way we watch fights night of is a little bit different than the way judges watch it. You have to watch every strike, every takedown, everything matters, right? So I think that fight was a lot closer than we think. Yeah, there was some damage to that eye, but it came from a headbutt. It didn't come from Valentina. So I think that was probably Santos's moment. I don't know that she could capitalize on that, come back and win a rematch against Valentina. Valentina is so good at making adjustments. That was her opportunity, and she just didn't get it. I think Valentina would probably win the rematch.
Yeah, and I know they're going to rematch down the road because I think Talia Santos, I mean, if she's warm to Lauren Murphy, looking good against Misha and maybe running it at some point, she's got to be warm to this one. Great tip of the hat to Talia Santos, man. She went through a lot, but she battled. All right, topic number 3. Look, guys, it didn't last long, but the rematch between Zhang Weili and Joanna Jedrzejczyk was a barn burner until Weili's incredible spinning back fist ended it early in round 2. Props to Weili for the finish. But the big news afterwards was seeing an emotional Jedrzejczyk leave her gloves in the cage to end an incredible career. Guys, where do you rank Joanna Champion among all-time women's MMA fighters? And is she the greatest strawweight ever? We got 4 minutes on the clock. Matt, you're getting the party started this time.
Yeah, man, I think she is the greatest strawweight ever simply because of her title reign. She's got the longest title reign in the division. Until somebody can match that, with 5 defenses, nobody's had more than one since her. So you have to respect her resume. Again, that's my theme of the show apparently today, is respect the resume of Joanna Jedrzejczyk. Definitely the greatest strawweight of all time. Not only does she have the most title defenses, but look at those fights during that title reign. They were incredible wars. Some of the best fights ever in the division. And where does this place her career among the greatest women of all time? I have to say she's top 5. You think of the Amanda Nunes's, Ronda Rousey's, Valentina Shevchenko. Joanna's right up there with them. So I don't see how anybody can discount what she did during her dominant reign, from 2015, 2018, 2017. She's just one of the best ever. Not only from the work that she put in, but just her aura that she brought with her during that time as well. She was one of the most charismatic characters as well. You tuned in not to see her fight, but you tuned in for her interviews. You tuned in for her promos because she was gonna make you interested, make you engaged, and want to see her fight. And so for that, she's top 5.
Yeah, I think I can agree with the top 5 for sure, man. She's just out of Mount Rushmore. Greatest strawweight ever, though. Ooh, let's see what Ghost thinks.
And I know George is chomping at the bit. He's our rankings guy, so I know this is tearing him apart. But look, it's a tough one because when you're breaking it down, you really have to nitpick. And right away, what you're going to find are 2 fighters that have wins over her. Not just once, but twice. Head-to-head wins. It's kind of hard to overlook. I think that sort of eliminates her. But where she does excel in this conversation is I think she kind of helped the division grow and move along. When Ronda Rousey left, she had that bad girl attitude, and that seemed to kind of go away. But Joanna, I know it's a different division, but Joanna came in and kind of took over that mantle. I think a lot of people gravitated to women's MMA because of her. So here's the thing. As it stands right now, I feel like, probably not the best. But I feel like that could change, guys. And I don't feel like this is the last we've seen of Joanna. I think she's going to go back, assess things. She's been fighting a long time, not just MMA. She's been fighting combat sports for a long time. It's in her blood. Don't forget what happened in Michael Bisping's career, right? Right moment, right time. Maybe Joanna comes back and she's back into this discussion. We're doing it all over again. So I don't think we've seen the last of Joanna Champion.
Interesting. All right, Danny, you going to be a tiebreaker here? Sounds like he doesn't have her as a strawweight grade, and Matt does. How about you? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think she's the strawweight GOAT. And to me, this is a very easy argument. I mean, I know that she lost to Zhang Weili twice. I know that she lost to Rose Namajunas twice. But Carla Esparza beat Rose Namajunas twice in the same fashion that Rose Namajunas defeated Joanna Jedrzejczyk, meaning a decision and a finish. So does that make Carla Esparza the number 1, the GOAT over Rose Namajunas? Does that make her the GOAT? So in my opinion, we're not really measuring here who's best. I think that's a different discussion. We're measuring who's greatness. And greatness is measured by achievement. And 5 title defenses, that doesn't come close to anything that any other lady has done in the division. I mean, the most defenses that we've seen since that title reign has been only 1. So we're talking about girls that have stints in the division. Joanna Jedrzejczyk had a whole era. I mean, she had over 2 years of being a dominant champion. So for me, she is the GOAT at strawweight. And as far as the pound for pound rankings, This is in no specific order, but the only ladies that I see over her would be Chris Cyborg, Ronda Rousey, Amanda Nunes, and Valentina Shevchenko. I don't think any other lady triumphs the success that she's had. So for me, she's right at number 5.
I agree with that last point. And actually, when you do bring them all together and throw in Carla, I think your point stands stronger. I was looking at more like Rose versus Joanna. Man, those two head-to-heads really, really had me focused on Rose. But great stuff, guys. Seriously, you guys unpacked that one well. Let's go to topic number 4. I feel like the main event needs some more love. Let's go. Just hearing you guys talk about it in the first topic has me buzzing again, just like I was on Saturday night. I actually think this fight could be in the Hall of Fame down the road. That's my opinion. But my question to you is, does this supplant Jones-Gustafsson 1 as the greatest light heavyweight title fight ever? Which most people say it is. Goes, you're going to lead things off here. You got 4 minutes.
Look, in my mind, not only is it the greatest light heavyweight fight of all time, it's one of my favorites of all time when you put it all together. I love Jones and Gustafsson. It was very technical. That's what I loved about that fight. But at the end of the day, I think it was the judges that kind of had to decide who the victor was going to be in that fight, where in this fight, the fighters took it upon themselves till the very end to decide this. In Jones-Gustafsson, there was a lot of flip-flopping as far as rounds goes, but in this fight, it was actual time. Like one guy would be ahead in the round, and the other guy would come back, and then they'd take it back. It just had us standing up for most of that fight, screaming and yelling at our TV, and I don't know that we really had that in Jones-Gustafsson. I think it was more about a dominant champion of John Jones possibly losing his title is what really kept our eyes glued, where this one, it was the action, it was the mixed martial arts. The fight was on the feet, the fight was on the ground. Both guys attacked the other guy with their best characteristics. So I think if I had to pick one, I think it's greatest of all time. I think it's even top 5 of any division. But I hope we get to see it again. I think it'll look exactly the same.
Sounds like what you're telling me is it doesn't always have to be a chess match. You just like them slobber knockers?
Mm-hmm.
Nail biters?
Yeah, hootenannies.
Hootenannies. We got
I'm glad it was in front of fans too, and not at the Apex.
Yeah. How about you, Danny? What are your thoughts here?
Yeah, I mean, this one's difficult because, you can't possibly watch that fight and then be like, hey, yeah, this was all right. No, this was one of the greatest things we've ever seen in mixed martial arts, period. I mean, this was just phenomenal. This was pure art, pure violence. I mean, I absolutely loved every single second of it. But I do think as far as historical importance, this title fight is not the biggest title fight we've seen at 205. We've seen a lot other bigger fights. Now, was it the most exciting? Yes. But I think when you're talking about greatness, a lot of factors play in on top of just the excitement. So in my opinion, Alexander Gustafsson versus John Jones, or should I say Jones versus Gustafsson, that fight had the excitement. That fight had just a big magnitude. It was a big pay-per-view, big title fight, a lot more significance as far as historically speaking. So in my opinion, that fight kind of checked all the boxes. But I do admit probably the most exciting fight was between Glover Teixeira and Jiri Prochazka. But in my opinion, I mean, it's a close race. If you go either way, I mean, it's not a bad choice. So I'm going to go Jones-Gustafsson, but hard to debate this one.
It's like a photo finish, so we're going to have to go to Matt Wells here for the tiebreaker.
Oh, man. Both incredible fights. First off, let's get that out of the way, obviously. I do think that this one is heading for the Hall of Fame, just like Jones-Gus. But I think when we look back on it, we're going to say, kind of like what Goes was touched on there, was that Jones-Gus 1 was a lot more technical. It was a lot more clean. There weren't as many mistakes. It was just two high-level athletes getting the best of each other throughout the course of the fight. And when you look back on this one between Glover and Jiri, we're going to say, oh, man, that was a mistake. Man, that was another mistake right there. He shouldn't have done that. He should have just kept it standing when you had him rocked right there instead of going for the takedown. So I think we're going to question the fight IQ between these guys when we look at Jiri and Glover as this fight grows on us. But both incredible fights. You got to appreciate the back and forth efforts that were displayed throughout the 25 minutes, or nearly 25 minutes rather, because obviously Glover ends up tapping. And as I mentioned before, we get things that never happened before to either one of these guys, with the submission to Glover and Jiri actually getting his first submission and winning the title doing it. But for me, Jones and Gus 1 still stands supreme in the division's history when you look at title fights. just because it was a little bit more cleaner and was just two high-level guys going at it, closer in age as well. So it was two guys truly in their prime versus you had this age difference there. So that was also kind of another factor in Glover and Yuri. But both incredible fights, both Hall of Fame fights. And, man, I can't wait to just continue to watch these as I've seen Gus and Jones won multiple times.
Yeah, no doubt. I'm going to run that one back tonight as well. All right, we're going to finish up here with topic number 5. An announcement was made during the UFC 275 broadcast on Saturday. The UFC confirmed their main event for UFC 278 on August 20th in Salt Lake City. We have Kamaru Usman versus Leon Edwards. Usman going for his 6th title defense. This is a rematch, except this is the first time in a title fight because they fought a non-title fight before. Usman won, by the way. All right, so this card's just a little over 2 months away. I see a feature bout in maybe Paulo Costa and Luke Rockhold. I kind of scanned the card a little bit just to get excited. But I don't see that one as a co-main event because Costa's a little questionable, it seems, in terms of he's postponed this a few times. So I'm looking for a main event, fellas. Give me a realistic co-main event, all right, based off the most available athletes on the UFC roster. So I don't want like Brock Lesnar comes back. Knock my socks off here, guys. Danny, have some fun with it. 4 minutes, take it away.
Yeah, this one's a fun one because I like putting the matchmaker hat on, and I kind of like looking at the division and playing matchmaking for a second. And I like when cards have sort of a theme. So why not keep it the welterweight theme, the theme at 170 pounds? So why not throw there a top contender bout, potentially title eliminator bout, so the timelines start aligning with the champion. Maybe we can get some call-outs. Maybe we can get some interesting storylines of run-ins during the hotel, more interesting interviews. You just add a whole layer when you add a title fight plus a number 1 contender bout in that same card. So why not Khamzat Chimaev versus Bilal Muhammad? I mean, clearly those two are leading the pack right now with some of the fights that we've seen recently. Some of the other contenders have fallen out. Khamzat and Bilal are the guys right now, besides obviously Leon Edwards, who will be challenging for the belt. So in my opinion, that fight needs to be on that card. I would love to see it. Clearly, Khamzat is a star, easily can be in a co-main event and just make the pay-per-view a lot more bigger, make it a lot more interesting with the champion of that same weight class competing that night. So I'm all for that. Free idea there to Sean Shelby and Mick, so you guys can thank me later.
You, Danny, you. I like that. Insurance for the main event. And, of course,
those backup opponents, the whole
all
deal.
about that. Yeah, Matt, you got tough competition here. Can you top it?
Of course I can top it. No, I like the idea of themes on these cards as well, especially pay-per-views, but I like a different sort of theme. I like the theme of 2 title fights. Mm-hmm. So let's see if we can get another quick turnaround here with the strawweight title fight. Let's make Carla Esparza, Zhang Weili happen in Salt Lake City. Listen, I know that Zhang Weili called for a neutral site sort of thing to happen when she gets her title fight, but you're not the champion. You're the former champion. You don't get to call the shots. The champ gets to say where the fight takes place, if we're doing things properly. So Carla Esparza gets to pick, and she gets this fight in the States. It's a quick turnaround for Zhang Weili, and that's probably one of the reasons Carla would want to do it as well, being in there with Joanna in a little firefight. But I think that would be a perfect co-main event, even though it's a quick turnaround. And, Carla obviously just coming off her honeymoon and getting married and all that good stuff as well. But hey, let's make it happen.
This is actually over 2 months away. Figueiredo and Moreno did it in 3 weeks. So anything's possible. All right, go. 2 tough submissions here for the co-main event. Can you top them?
I like those both. And I think Matt's right. Carla's not that far away from Utah, and Zhang Weili trains in Arizona a lot. So I think it would kind of work out for both of them. I really like that one. But I'm going to stick to a theme as well. My theme is knockout. And seeing as the Utah Jazz are so used to being knocked out in the playoffs, why not give them 2 heavyweights, Stipe Miocic and Tai Tuivasa? We make it the interim title fight. I know Stipe said September, but look, man, money talks. We'll get it as close as we can there. You don't have to worry about fighters watching their weight or anything like that. It's a barn burner. These guys are going to go at it. There's no way that fight isn't good. So I kind of like that fight in that position. Hey, look, Leon Edwards, crazy things have happened. What if this guy doesn't make it to that dance? Cross your fingers. Hopefully that doesn't happen. But if he doesn't, you're left with a heavyweight title fight interim. And then you have maybe even have John Jones in the crowd. Maybe even have Francis. They're sitting there, Clubber Lang style, just scowling at that fight. But I think it's good business from UFC, and I think it's a good fight.
Oh, man, good stuff, guys. That was really, really clinical work from all three of you. I hope they do all three, honestly. That'd be a really, really stacked main card. But just give me 2 of those, I'll be happy. Just give me 1 of those, I'll be happy. I will say this, though, guys. There's not going to be a lot of shoeies in Salt Lake City, if you know what I mean. There might be some Kokies or whatever they call them. But, yeah, they don't roll that way. But still, 5,000 feet, do not forget, it's high up there in Salt Lake City. So we need some cardio machines, too. All right, guys, you guys did an astounding job. As always, a little bit of mic rust there, but we shook it off within 30 seconds. It was mostly due to me. And, of course, we'll be back next week on Spinning Back Clique. We'll be discussing PFL 4 in 2022. They're back in action. And, of course, UFC is doing it again. Emmett versus Cater. It's UFC on ESPN 37. So be on the lookout for that. We got you covered here on MMA Junkie. We'll see you next week.